All right, friends. I think the right moment to start is there. Oh, letting everybody in. Heiko's coming, Vanessa's coming, Anna's coming. Beautiful to see you all. On this amazing Sunday morning for everybody checking in from the European continent. For us, it's already afternoon, 3 p.m. in Bali here. Let's see who is there. So beautiful to see you. Morning, Denise. Hi, Joshua. Cheers to Thailand. Bastian, back in Germany. Wow, what a journey. Happy to see you all. Nadine, Heiko, Vanessa, just before her flight to Bali. Very excited for that. Janine is on board. Christine. Sweet. Friends, I think the moment to kick things off is there. Let's do a quick check-in. How is everybody arriving to the party? What is one word that describes how you're coming, how you're arriving in this space? What is one word that describes your current state, your current attitude, your current feeling, your current mood? Feel invited to share it in the chat. And where do your feet touch the ground right now? Where on this beautiful planet Earth are you? Let's do a quick check on how's everybody arriving and where's everybody checking in from? Nadine is thankful, grateful. Vanessa calm. Janine is coming, letting her in. I think I'm checking in with what is the most extraordinary word I can come up with. Let me see. It's probably extraordinary. I think extraordinary describes it. And at the same time, ordinary. It's so interesting. Like, do you recognize these feelings when something really special is taking place and at the same time it feels super normal? Like it's just meant to be. It's just like, of course, like it's at the same time it's a wow, and at the same time it's an of course. And that's a beautiful feeling. Feels like an exciting version of normality. And I'm checking in from the mountains of beautiful Bali. Behind me, no, you don't see Mount Batu right now, the second highest mountain in Bali. It's a little cloudy today, which is good because if the sun comes out, then it will be difficult to do the session. Since the laptop will be overheating, and at the same time, we hope that there will be no rain. If there will be rain, then we need to do a quick pause and I will move underneath the roof. All right, how are you checking in? Elena, excitement, nice. Nice, nice, nice. Grateful, calm and excited. Excited and emotionally torn between places. Busted, I can imagine. I can absolutely imagine. Today's space could be intense. Let's see. I prepared this couple of things, and at the same time, I'm super open for everything that wants to emerge, but it could be intense. Um, get a notebook and a pen, or take some notes digitally, or whatever is arising for you. Really, really like conserve that. It could be valuable for your future journey in life and business and everything that lies ahead on your path. All right. What is on our agenda today? I already shared it on Instagram and in the Telegram channel. Maybe you already saw it. Some things that I would love to dive in today, and at the same time, I will totally surrender to the flow. Oh, Sarah and Ella, beautiful to see you. Nice. Um, at first, I want to explore, or I want to unpack why we are collectively living lives that don't exist anymore. And I will explain in more depth what I mean with this maybe confusing, maybe triggering statement. And this realization is one of the main drivers for the book that I was fortunate enough to write over the past 6 months. And the next step, I'd love to learn. That's something that's really, really valuable for me, like my whole journey when I look back. I really like to learn from history, and I really like to dive into humanity's last huge phase shift that we underwent through. Like today, in these times, many things are changing. A couple of days ago, I saw a YouTube video and it was titled, Does anybody else have the feeling that life is not working anymore? I think this was the title, and I clicked on it. It sounded super interesting, and the person shared, like, I don't know, like when I look back into the past years, it feels like things are falling apart. Things are like not normal anymore. There's no normality anymore. It's like all like constant craziness on all levels. And I have the same feeling that things are changing like quite quickly inside ourselves and on the outside too. And I want to explore that, the current rebirth that humanity is going through, and the last that probably none of us have any recent memory of because it was quite a while ago. We're going to explore that. But it's always valuable to learn from history and to check in how the last phase shift humanity went through emerged and where it took place and what kind of people were the leaders of this phase shift. Stefan is coming, beautiful, letting him into. And how this, I call it novel kind of human that is emerging right now, how this novel kind of human like is conducting their life, and how are they making decisions, and how are they feeling, and how they are thinking, and how they are acting and behaving. And I really want to explore that in depth. This is one of the core themes throughout the book I was able to write over the past 6 months. And I see this whole transition that is taking place right now as humanity's transition from puberty to childhood. No, from puberty to adulthood. And it's, for me, a really powerful image to see it this way. I call it the coming of age of humanity, what that means and how this is unfolding and what kind of consequences this brings with it. We're going to explore that too. And then I'd like to, in order to really let everything sink in, I like to do a meditation together, a meditation related to my own individual phase shift to a higher order being, to like the fullness of my potential as far as that can unfold right now. And then, of course, we're gonna celebrate. We're gonna celebrate. I'm gonna share some things about the book. There will be gifts and surprises, and of course, I'd love to, like, so during the whole journey, I'd love to hear from you. I'd like to hear your sharings. I'd like to facilitate conversations. I'd really like to open the space for everything that's coming up, and that you want to contribute, that you want to ask, that your like perspective that you want to bring in, whatever's coming up. So whenever you feel the urge to share something or to ask something or whatever, put it in the chat. And if it's aligned with the flow, I will weave it in, or maybe we'll do that afterwards. Let's see. Let's see how it unfolds. Yeah, really this question of what is most alive in you right now? This is a question that may serve as our guiding principle or as one of our guiding principles today. Because the things that I want to share are really the things that are most alive in me right now, that really need to come out. And I'm curious what is most alive in you, and I want to invite you to put that out there too. All right, are there any questions up front regarding the flow, regarding whatever? Please share that now. I'm gonna take a sip of my amazing fresh pineapple juice. All right, very grateful to have all of you on board. I'm very grateful for everybody watching the recording right now. It's a very, very special and at the same time very ordinary moment. It feels like meant to be. It feels like new normality, and that's beautiful. All right. I'd like to share my screen because I've got a couple of visualizations in order to enhance our journey and to share with you my newfound passion for my, like, letting my inner artist come to light. Yeah, huge thanks to Victor who sparked this flame. All right. As I said, I right now have the feeling, and a lot of people, a lot of conversations I have underscore this feeling that the old world is falling apart. That the like I was born in the 90s. I'm a 90s kid, and the good old life is something that's somehow not existing anymore, where like families had decent jobs and had security, and maybe just one of the parents were working while the other one was at home with the kids, and there was not enough money, and people could afford buying a house easily, and um like the good old days, maybe in the 80s, 90s, maybe even beginning of 2000s. Somehow this is not a reality anymore. And I want to explore with you why that's the case and why I believe that's something beautiful. Because I see these times as a moment between stories where somehow the old narrative of what a good life is and how everything works is getting weaker and weaker, while a new narrative is only emerging right now. So this moment in time where the majority of people on Earth live in cities for the first time in human history. More people live in cities than in rural areas, and life gets more stressful, life gets more fast, life gets more intense, life gets more unpredictable, life gets more crazy. And along with that comes a what I perceive a kind of meaning-making crisis. This place in between stories where you don't cannot really grasp a new normality brings with it a phase where we ask fundamental questions that we didn't ask before. Like, what is really the meaning of life? How does a good life look like? How can we live in alignment with the whole, with other people, with like nature? How how will the future look like? Like these big questions they are coming to the table. And of course, because we don't have immediate answers in the here and now, this brings with it a kind of scariness, or maybe a kind of like nervousness. Things are not graspable. Things are not there, not like fully manifested, not like, okay, this is how it is. This is how life works. And I believe that's a strong indicator of this phase shift that humanity is going through, that something new is emerging, a kind of metamorphosis. And this metamorphosis is absolutely necessary because what we did over the past decades, and it's not long ago in the history of this planet or in history of human species, like the exhaustion of the earth, the exhaustion of natural environments, the exhaustion of lush forests and clean water. This only took place like fairly recently. For the absolute majority, 99.9999% of this earth was constantly changing, regenerating. Everything was like the whole ecosystem was intact. And that's something that's not present anymore because we as a species exploited this whole ecosystem in order to rise to the global power where we are right now with 8 billion people and really like no like natural opponents, no natural threats. Of course, there are animals that are stronger than us or that are faster than us, but if we decide to wipe them out through a bomb or some dynamite or some poison or whatever, they cannot do anything against it. So we human beings have basically like we are basically like almighty on this planet, which when we look deeper is something that we realize is not really the case. But that's something that we'll explore later. Um, and the exhaustion of this earth and the exhaustion that we've like many of us feel inside is a consequence of life getting faster and faster and faster. And why is life getting faster and faster? Because of our economic system. Our economic system that must grow at all costs has this embedded growth obligation, forces us to earn more money, to work more, to work longer hours, to hustle more. Because if this economic system is not growing, it will collapse. We structured it, we build it, we constructed it in a way that it needs to grow. Otherwise, it will crumble. And of course, infinite economic growth is not possible on a finite planet. And of course, Elon Musk's strategy is make human beings. Like 2 days ago, I watched a video of SpaceX, like just 2 minute video where he was standing on stage in front of these like crazy rockets, and he said like this motivational talk as motivational as he is, we will make humanity a multiplanetary species and we will colonize Mars and that will solve all the problems. That's something I don't believe in, because if we didn't somehow acquire the skill to live in alignment with this one planet, we will probably make it even worse by colonizing other planets. So the solution is to fundamentally redesign our economic system, and that's something that's taking place right now. I prepared a funny statistic. This shows how much currency in US dollars is in existence. And when we look at it in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like the monetary supply was fairly stable. And when the monetary supply is fairly stable, things have stable value. But when the government decides, oh, we are going to print a lot of money right now, because there's so much more money in circulation, things lose value. And for the $100 you had, you now are able to buy less because things lose value. And the more money that gets printed, the more things lose value. And when we look at this chart in the like around 2000, things took really off. But around 2020, when the pandemic hit, things like exploded. So we now see an amount of currency in circulation, like currency in existence, that is substantially higher than what we saw just like 20 or 30 years ago. And if there's like 10 times as much money in existence, of course, things have 10 times less value. So the $2,000 or $3,000 you earned every month, you can now pay like a fraction of your costs with it. Where before you earned like 2,000 a month and you could afford a house, your own home, a mortgage. That's something like absolutely unthinkable of in these times because the government printed so much money, because their strategy was to solve the solutions by printing more, which is some kind of crazy thinking. Because if you print more, of course, things lose value. And that's why these days so many people are jumping into crypto and talking about different economic models and different currencies and so on. And things are really like, so many people are, even like people who have like a lot of money, in my circle there, they are very afraid. They're very afraid that they will lose all of this. They have like 6-7 figure amounts in their bank accounts, and they're like I feel so insecure as I didn't feel like for a long time, because I have what if overnight the dollar or the euro or the Indonesian rupiah or whatever like loses more and more of its value, then like all my savings will be wiped out. So this contributes to this instability we witness right now. The next factor to that is our education system that is crumbling too. So when I went to school, like I started going to school in 1996. Things were like nobody questioned that. Like, oh, school was okay, it was nice. Of course, you needed to learn things, and parents and teachers convinced you to learn so that you will someday get a good job and earn lots of money, and pupils believe that, and things were okay. But now, during all the technological shift that took place over the past years, and let's say maybe 1 or 2 decades, it feels so crazy to to memorize who was the 7th president of the United States when you just like could Google or could ask Siri or ChatGPT or whatever. Like, and even with oh yeah, that's something that I want to show you too. Let's dive into that. A couple of days ago, I published an Instagram video which went like super viral, and it's like 35,000 plays already. And maybe you saw it, and it talked about the genius level that children start their lives with. NASA did a study of children aged like 2, 3, 4, 5, and these children were like 98% of them were classified as a genius. And they measured that with through their capability of creative thinking and complex problem solving, and tasks like, okay, here's a brick. What could you do with it? Like really thinking out of the box. Okay, you could destroy a window with it, or you could paint it in blue and then use it to build your house and whatever. Like really like this divergent thinking that was tested for these little ones. And 98% of them were classified as a genius. At age 10, 30% were still classified as a genius, but 70% lost, like during those 5, 6, 7, 8 years, lost their innate brilliance. At age 15, only 12% were left. And then, like now it's getting really shocking. Then they measured the average adult. The average adult was 31 years old. So they measured like people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Only 2% of adults were classified as a genius. Like, this is insane. What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, education, it doesn't make you smarter, it makes you dumber. Somehow things are not working. Somehow things are really, 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 really not working. And this will only become more and more pronounced with all these crazy technologies that are being developed and with AI. Like when I talked about that in the last workshop I hosted. Maybe you watched that already, or you participated live. Like when each and every child, no matter where they live on the planet, get a personalized tutor in the form of an AI that is like so much wiser and so much more intelligent than like all the greatest geniuses in the history of our planet combined, and an AI that knows you perfectly because it has all the data, what you like, how you are thinking, what are your weaknesses, what are your strengths, and so on, and it can cater your education like perfectly to you without having any personal biases, and that's insane. Of course, that's a really nice scenario how this whole artificial intelligence thing could develop. Of course, there are other more alarming scenarios that are possible too, but no matter in which direction it will go, things will change tremendously. And of course, these technological advancements, if you want to call them that this way, of course, they have many, many side effects. There's rising addictions, like especially among children and teenagers, is so crazy. Like here in Bali, the local kids, sometimes I see like local kids, and they are just a couple of years older than Leo, like maybe 4 or 5, and they're spending hours and hours and hours on this device. Like one of the staff members at the place where I'm living right now, he's a super nice guy, and sometimes he brings his child to work, and the little boy is, I would say, like 4 years old. And while his dad is working, he's a gardener, this little boy sits on his chair for hours and hours just on this device. And then sometimes Leo goes to him and is like doing some crazy things, or throws anything, or makes some like loud noises. And it feels like this little boy with 4 years old is not able to interact with him. He's like already so drawn into these technological devices that he's somehow not even able to interact with him. He's like, it feels like he's overwhelmed by Leo approaching him, this little 2-year-old. While in reality, the 4-year-old should be a role model for the 2-year-old and should like show this little one like how life works and how to navigate the fabric of reality. And that's crazy. It's really, really crazy when I think about how will this unfold over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years of these little souls. But yeah, the same thing is true for us as adults. We're spending a substantial amount of our days glued to these technical devices, which pretend to tell us the truth. Of course, it's there's a lot of beauty in it and a lot of like the possibility that we are coming together in this setting right now. That's like it's a miracle spread out in in so many different places all over the world that we are able to come together. It's a miracle. It's great. And I think that's why these technologies are so pervasive, because you can get a lot of gold out of them. But it's a fine, like really a nuanced thing to navigate these realms. And yeah, the consequence of all the technological rises and the extraction of natural resources in order to fulfill our consumption lifestyles, in order to fuel them, is what probably almost everybody on this planet now is aware of the changing climate and of the melting of the Arctic ice and of the rising of the global sea levels. And that there's a statistic that I heard about recently, that by 2050 there could be up to 1 billion climate refugees. 1 billion people needing to leave their homes because they are uninhabitable. Especially like places in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, but other places too in Africa and Latin America that are getting so hot and so humid that really you cannot live there anymore. And it's crazy. Like I'm living here in the mountains on an altitude of 800 meters. And I love this place so much. You see, like in the afternoon, I'm wearing a long shirt because it's a little chilly. And when I go down to the south of Bali, to the oceans, it's crazy. Like I need to shower 5 times a day. I'm not used to this anymore, and it's only 30 degrees. And there are places in this world, and this trend is accelerating, where 35, 40, maybe even 45 degrees is a normality. And of course, like living conditions like these, it's not possible to live there anymore. And what happens when so many people need to leave their homes? Like the amount of unrest that will take place, and the potential for war that is culminating, it will probably make up for even more tough ride than what we already perceive. But as human beings, we're not the only ones who are suffering more and more. Like the amount of animals that we extincted over the past 100 or 200 years, it's crazy. Like the current species extinction rate is more than 1,000 times higher than 200 years ago. That's crazy. Like we are extincting every day a handful of species. Every single day while we are sitting here, creatures that inhabited this earth alongside us, like brothers and sisters, that lived for thousands, like millions, maybe even billions of years, they're going extinct because of the activities of humankind. Like I would call maybe you're already familiar with the term, I talked about it a lot over the past weeks. I would call the multitude of all these issues that we only like stepped into a tiny bit. Like the rabbit hole goes so much more deep. I would call them the meta crisis. The meta crisis is the convergence of so many different different crises that are taking place at the same time, like economically, education-wise, um, the living ecosystems and in our personal lives, a growing number of addictions and depressions and people becoming more and more overweight and so on and so on and so on. All these factors together, I would call them the meta crisis. And as it is the case, when things are not working anymore, either a system will go bust and will just like self-terminate, or it will transform into a higher, more elevated version. These are like the two possibilities. Because when things cannot continue the way they continued, you probably recognize this special moment, this like pivotal moment in your life. Like when I look back on my past 33 years in this incarnation, there were many moments in my life where I felt that like what I did in the past is not working anymore. Either everything will crash or everything will transform, but it cannot continue this way. Maybe you want to reflect back on your life where you recognize this like really this moment of truth. Okay, things somehow are not working anymore. When you had a profound realization, or when there was a catastrophe or a crisis in your personal life because your partner broke up with you, or you got laid off at work, or your business went bankrupt, or or a loved one died, or something really, really, really terrible took place. And then there was this moment of truth where either you realized it will just like all go to ruins, or a transformation takes place, a metamorphosis. And I believe that while both scenarios are absolutely thinkable of, I believe I'm more in the metamorphosis camp. But I don't know for sure. Like maybe these will be the last days of human beings on this planet. Like this could be. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We'll maybe figure it out. Maybe not. But these are the two pathways. Everything will self-terminate, or there will be a profound transformation to a higher order being that creates different systems, different economic systems, different education systems, like approaches life from a completely different standpoint on. But before we explore what will or what might emerge right now and what might become a new normality, let's go a little bit back in time and learn from the last huge phase shift humanity underwent. Let's go back around 600 years ago to the Middle Ages, around 1400s, which is not a lot of time over the whole time span of human history. And if we would ask one of our really distant relatives, great, 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 great grandpa, like how was life in the Middle Ages, he probably would have told us that it was not nice. There was a daily struggle for survival because there were some like really rich landlords who possessed a lot of land, and all the capital was in the land. And the majority of the people worked on these lands as serfs, as peasants, for tiny wages just to get by. They were working like long hours just to get by, while all the riches, all the money was siphoned to a small elite. And through that, everybody was pretty much at war with everybody else because it was really about survival. And there was a rigid social hierarchy. You couldn't, if you were born like in a really poor family, you will probably die in a really poor family. There were no opportunities or almost no opportunities to change the fate of your life, like radically. And the church was exerting a lot of control, like really strict, with the argument of law and order, but in reality, a lot of oppression just to preserve its power. But in these times where life, probably people felt the same as we nowadays feel, they felt like somehow life is not working. Like somehow, like no, it feels wrong, it feels off. Like it's a daily struggle just to get by, which is a reality for a lot of people like living now in the beginning of the 21st century. And the extraction of wealth by the elites out of the masses is something that we perceive today too. So there are a lot of parallels. But then out of this feeling of things are not working, things are like, something new was born. A phase shift, something new. Like when the individual was not content anymore with working all day and still being exploited and still staying poor, and the individual developed this desire of individual freedom, the power to express oneself, to pursue what you really like, what fascinates you. The search for truth, the search for beauty, the search for the finer things in life, like artistic and musical. Like when all these things entered the gray and strict and law and order like life of the Middle Ages, like the current status quo couldn't be upheld any longer. And this phase shift, what we now call the Renaissance, a time in human history around the 14, 15, 1600s, like really after the Middle Ages. The Renaissance means birth, a rebirth in French. This phase was the last incredible, like substantial, with like everything, the whole organizations, the whole way people lived, people thought, people behaved, people acted, like everything changed during this time. And the hub of the Renaissance was Florence in Italy, a city that is still known for its artists and for the finer things in life. And in the 1400s, Florence was really the hub of the Renaissance, really like the hub of Europe. A third of its population was literate, was able to read and write, which for these times back in the day was like really high, the highest rate in all of Europe. And its currency, the florin, which was valued for its gold purity, was the dominant currency in all of Europe. Therefore, Florence thrived substantially. Financially too. There were a lot of bankers, a lot of merchants. And through this wealth, Florence attracted many artists, many great minds, many thinkers, many philosophers. In these times, there were more wood carvers, people creating art out of wood, than there were butchers, people slaughtering animals for food. And through this really unique ecosystem that Florence encompassed, there were a lot of innovative ideas that could emerge naturally because the culture rewarded those people who immersed themselves in various disciplines. Like it was almost impossible to not bump into some people who are like doing explorations on fields where you have a resonance with, and then inspiring conversations emerged and people learned a lot. Because the highest values of the Renaissance, and especially in Florence, were beauty and humanity and learning, which was an incredible contrast to life before in the Middle Ages. And the probably most well-known figure of the Renaissance is, of course, Leonardo da Vinci. He was born in 1452 in Vinci. That's why he's called Da Vinci. It's a little town close to Florence, the hub of the Renaissance. And Leonardo we tried to highlight some of his faces. He was a painter. Of course, he painted the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, two of the most famous paintings that we have on this planet. He was a painter, a scientist, an architect, an engineer, an astronomer, a sculptor, a biologist, and a musician, and probably 20 more things that he never told anybody and just did for himself. And this education in so many different fields that he went through gifted him with the synergistic wisdom that was necessary in order to come up with innovations that were so far ahead of his time. Like some things that he invented back in the days, there's an amazing biography of Leonardo da Vinci written by Walter Isaacson. Can highly recommend you to dive into that. I listened to it on Audible, and it's a fascinating story. Like almost all of Leonardo's inventions were so far ahead of his time that it was really difficult to bring them into reality because they were like 200, 300, 400 years ahead of his time, that people didn't have the know-how, didn't have the knowledge. They were not able to transform this, to bring this into reality. But then people who lived like 3, 4, 5 generations after him rediscovered what he already imagined, and was like, oh my God, this is so brilliant. And this was only made possible through all the different fields he delved into. So he was one of the leading figures of the Renaissance, one of the leaders who brought forth this incredible phase shift out of the dark times of the Middle Ages to a time where learning, where progress, where beauty, where art, where self-expression was valued. And soon after, from Florence as the hub, these values spread all over Europe and all over the globe. For those of you who already dove a little into the model of spiral dynamics, this shift that took place can be described as the emergence of orange out of blue. Blue is in a developmental stage that is characterized by what we saw back in the days in the Middle Ages. Really authoritarian rule, orders, laws, the living your life from a place of obedience. So just that the authorities tell you, okay, you're a good person and you will not have any troubles, but follow the rules. And people were not content with this anymore. And something new emerged, and this is the orange value paradigm. And orange is a complete contrast to the blue paradigm that was present before, because orange says like, fuck authorities, fuck the system. Like, I don't want all that. Like, I want to explore what I want to do for myself. Like, I'm not content with just following orders, carrying out what other people ask of me. I want to see the world. I want to acquire materialistic possessions, and I want to really do what I want to do. Like, I want to be a free human being. And with that come the values of innovation, competition too. There's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. And this orange paradigm that emerged around 600, 650 years ago during the Renaissance, with Leonardo da Vinci as one of the leading figures. This paradigm is still the dominant paradigm on this planet. Things just over the past 600, 650 years went a little bit over the top, so to say. Let's compare that. Let's compare Florence, the beginning of Stage Orange, with like crazy artistic buildings and people probably working for 10, 20, 30 years to finish their buildings, and everything was like so creative and focused on details. And what we see now is on the skyline of New York City is still Stage Orange values, but a version that is more one-dimensional, a version that is more extreme, a version that is, I would say, over its zenith. Like it passed it's way past the healthy expression of it. So what we are witnessing right now, and it's crazy. Like, while art back in the days was to create something like the Mona Lisa. If you dive into the biography of Leonardo da Vinci, he crafted the Mona Lisa over decades. He painted, then he let it sit for 2 years, worked on other projects. 2 years later, he took it out, painted again, then let it sit for another 5 years, and then somehow down the road he finished it. Well, this was art back in the days. What do we have now? With like late stage orange, we have TikTok videos, 8 seconds of people dancing in front of the camera, and a video that is forgotten half an hour later. And while in the Renaissance, at the emergence of orange, we had lavish banquets, like people taking hours upon hours to enjoy food and to have conversations, like what we saw like in the whole Mediterranean, but in Greece, like people eating for like 6, 7, 8 hours and having music and really having the social gathering. And what do we have now? We have McDonald's. Uh, and fast food, like the opposite, like or like the more extreme version of these stage orange values. Back in the days, people started to explore foreign places. The explorations of Christopher Columbus and other explorers who put their feet in a ship where they didn't knew if they will leave this ship alive. But their drive to explore, their drives to really see the world was so strong. And that's something that led to the restless digital nomads that we see right now. They are always on the hunt for something meaningful while destroying the planet and always consuming. While the individual was liberated with the emergence of stage orange, there was the liberation of the individual. We now have so much liberation, and freedom is like the ultimate value of most human beings on this planet. That's why we have the meaning crisis, because more like there is a too much of a good thing is bad. Too much freedom is bad. Too much water is bad too. Like I can hydrate it with myself, but if it's all around me, I will drown. So we need the right dose. And freedom is way, 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 way past its healthy dose. And that's why we have the meaning crisis, where people are so lost that they don't know what life is about because there's nothing to build upon. So the destructive effects of stage orange, late stage that we see right now, that since 1970 we killed 69% of all animals, like more than 2/3 of animals. The WWF monitored over 5,000 species over the past 55 years, and they found out that 69% of the population were killed by us human beings. And this at the root, and that's really fascinating. I want to explore that with you. That's really fascinating. The way we solve problems create worse problems in the future. When around 1850, the first horse carriages were roaming around the cities of London and other places, that was nice. Like people didn't have to walk anymore. They were much faster in these horse carriages. That was nice. But then there were so many horse carriages because the cities boomed. Like London, around 1900 was by far the biggest city in the world, and the cities boomed. And there were so many horse carriages, so that the cities were full of horse shit, like full of horse shit everywhere. And it was disgusting to be outside. And then some smart people thought, let's invent a mode of transportation that doesn't produce horse shit and that isn't so slow. The result of that being the car, the automobile, that we see nowadays on the streets. The amount of horse shit on 21st century streets is pretty minimal. But we have other pollutants that are a lot more intense. And people with a good intention invented the car in order to solve this problem that transportation was really slow and there was a lot of pollution. And the car was invented with a good intention, but nobody back in the day would have foreseen that this will lead to climate change because of all the burning of the oil and the coal and the factories, and the gasoline will like put this planet on the brink of the collapse. Nobody would have anticipated that. So this one problem was tried to be solved in a well-intentioned way, but the level of thinking was not systemic enough It was just like short-sighted. Let's just solve this one problem in a very narrow focused way. But people were unaware of all the side effects that took place later and left and right and on the other side of the planet. So we are invited to rethink how we solve problems. Because the way we solved problems in the past led to even worse problems now. But this is orange. This is stage orange. Stage orange is really like goal driven. Like, okay, there's one problem, let's solve this problem. This is like orange. And this created the conditions where we are living in right now, with late stage capitalism, with the meta crisis we're living in right now, where almost all of the natural resources are extracted. I found out that we will probably pretty likely run out of oil by 2052 and out of coal by 2090 and out of natural gas by 2060. So there are a couple of decades left where we can fuel our cars and our factories with these products from the earth that were stored there for millennia. And then we have exhausted them all. And this led to us human beings, and that's really crazy, this led to us human beings consuming 100 times more externally than internally. So that means like the average human being consumes 2,000 calories through their diet, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 2,000 calories. But the average human being consumes 200,000 calories through their consumption, like the car that they're driving and the electricity for their home and transportation and construction and products that they buy in their house and whatsoever. Like 200,000 calories a day. And that's only made possible through these like fossil workers. But they will be retiring soon. And then the current system will even more so than now not be able to work anymore. So like our old story is built on things that have no future. And that's what I meant with either things will crash or there will be an evolution to a higher order, but it cannot continue this way. Like if that's one, if it's just like one thing that you take away from today's session, like the future will not look like the past. Like it's absolutely impossible that the future will look like the past. Like the good old days where we grew up, like this is gone. This will never be the same. But there is the possibility of something even more beautiful. And that's at reach. While it's absolutely not safe that it will play out this way, but there's definitely the possibility because the old story is crumbling and it makes room for something new. And this phase shift that we see right now that will be even more substantial than the last phase shift during the Renaissance and Leonardo's times, like 600 years ago. This phase shift right now will lead to probably everything that we now call normal in life undergoing through some kind of changes. And I believe, and that's like with one part of myself, I already hold this story, and with another part of myself, I'm not there yet. But the part that is able to hold this like new story, like in the old story, progress and changes were caused by like Leonardo and other bright minds. They really led this revolution out of the dark age, out of the dark times of the Middle Ages, and they caused this change. They were like the change makers. But in this phase shift that we are going through right now, we are invited to approach a different kind of attitude, to let go of this forceful way and to realize that this shift will occur naturally, just by itself. That nothing needs to be done. And that's like a conundrum that's very, very difficult to hold for ourselves. This transformation will take place by itself, and still it requires us playing our parts because like it consists of all the human beings. If all the human beings decide to still play the old game, of course, things will not change. And that's something that's really, really challenging for my mind, like holding this new story where change is not forced, but change takes place naturally, really sitting with that and letting go of impatience, letting go of this urge to like, oh my God, when I dive into all the intricacies of the meta crisis, we need to save the whales, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to change the education system, and like we need to protest, and we need to get rid of all the evil corporations, and so on and so on. Like really sitting with that and allowing yourself to feel all that, and then letting it go. That's a big invitation right now. That's a really, really big invitation because, as I said, the way we solved problems in the past led to bigger problems down the road. Daniel Schmachtenberger tells a nice story about how, as he grew up and dove into all the details of the meta crisis, he was like, no, I need to do something, and he decided to work with PETA, the environmental and animal protection nonprofit. And he said, like, let's save the elephants because the elephants are one of the species that are like most endangered. The populations are declining like everywhere on the planet. And he said, like, let's save the elephants. And then the organization was able to convince the local governments to make the punishments for the poachers that were hunting the animals for their valuable horns that they could sell for like a fortune, to make the punishments for them so strong that people hunted these elephants less and less and less because they were afraid. So they succeeded at their goal of saving the elephants because the punishments for hunting an elephant and get caught with that were like so crazy. But this led to another problem down the road, which was that the poachers just shifted to the rhinos because they had valuable horns too that they could sell. And Daniel was like, okay, that's a disaster. We tried to solve one problem and we just shifted the problem somewhere else. And that's exactly the same as with the invention of the car, because the cities were full of horse shit and transportation was slow. Okay, let's invent a car, but we will create a bigger problem down the road in the form of climate change with a lot more pollution. So this systemic thinking of tuning into the effects of your decisions, like down the road and maybe even on the other side of the planet, this is so complex. But this is something that this phase shift will encompass. That's a very valuable skill humanity is invited to develop. This bigger picture view, like zooming out. Okay, not just like orange, really pinpointed. Okay, one problem, one solution. Let's go, saving the elephants. No? But zooming out and checking. Okay, how can we create a system that doesn't create other problems down the road, but that really works, like with this whole systemic view. And this is one of the main properties of this novel kind of human, this modern day Leonardo. It's a little funny, this picture. I try to create a modern day nature loving spiritual Leonardo da Vinci, but it looks a little more like yeah, you can judge for yourself. So as I said, like the Renaissance, the emergence of stage orange, I would call it the puberty of humanity. Like humanity entered collectively the age of 13, 14, 15, the liberation of the individual. Like in puberty, the child liberates from their parents. Like, no, I want to do my own things. I want to see the world. I want to like, no, you shouldn't tell me what I should do, but I want to figure out for myself. And that's what emerged in the last big phase shift. Humanity went into puberty. And as a teenager, is not very fond of rules or limits, humanity wasn't really fond of them either over the past 600 years, and consumed and consumed and consumed and consumed. But what we now witness is the entering of adulthood, the maturation of humanity, the coming of age of humanity. We are, like, collectively as a species right now, becoming adults. And what is an adult characterized by? A giving attitude instead of a taking attitude. A child or a teenager is taking more than they are giving, which is absolutely normal because they're still growing. They are still, like, they need resources. They need to be supported because they cannot navigate life just by themselves. They need resources from other people, and they are taking, which is totally fine. But if the whole of humanity collectively does that, of course, nature pays the bill in the end, and which lead to us paying the bill because we will probably go extinct if we continue to behave like immature teenagers into the indefinite future, which is not possible because we are living on a finite planet. But embracing this more giving instead of taking attitude and really caring for the whole, this is what is one of the characteristics of grown up. Like, if we are 20, 30, 40, 50, it should absolutely be the case that we are contributing way more than we are taking because we are, like, in our full powers. We can care for the younger ones, we can care for the older ones, and because we have so much to give, we have so much energy. And if humanity collectively transitions into that, of course, we will live on a completely different planet with completely different systems, completely different education system, completely different economic system, and so on and so on and so on. And caring about others, be it other people, animals, the planet, whatever, caring not because of these things have some kind of value for you, but caring about them because of them. This is a really new invention, empathy. Like, really caring about other people because of them and not because of their utility for you. Of course, like, people back in the days, they cared about their wife or their children because they possessed some kind of value for them, because they cooked for them or they supported them when they are old or whatever. But really caring for other people because of them, this is something really new. This is something, like, still the majority of humanity is not capable of. They're only able to care because other people or the planet or animals or whatever possess some kind of value for them. But the coming of age of humanity will be characterized by a phase shift into care, like some kind of unconditional care. I care because of you, because I value you, because you are amazing. You are incredible. You are a sacred living being. And that's why I want to care for you. And these people, I call them custodians. And that's why the book is called Gaia's Custodians, because a custodian is somebody who is a caretaker, a protector, a steward, a guardian of whatever he or she believes in. Because when I recognize how infinitely powerful and how infinitely strong and creative I am, and when I'm slowly beginning to harness my full capacity as a human being, and I fall in love, and this is one of the things that takes place in the coming of age. We fall in love at around 16, 17, 18. Like, when we are in our first relationship, something profoundly changes in us. Maybe you want to think back. When did you fell in love for the first time? Not like your parents, because of course everybody, we love our parents, but this was something different. Like, our first partner, we instantly became a much better human being. We, like, our rooms were super neat and tidy, and we stood in the kitchen for like 2 hours to create some epic meal in order to feed this beautiful human being we're in love with. Something really changed. Something really, really profoundly changed. And this is the power of love. And if we fall in love, not only with another human being, But if we fall in love and through developing this systemic view, if we fall in love with the whole, and that's what I mean with Gaia. Gaia is like the multitude of humans, animals, plants, fungi, oceans, mountains, forests, rivers, like everything on this planet. The whole ecosystem is called Gaia. Like Gaia is all the life on this planet. And if we open ourselves up for this incredible ecosystem with all these interplaying parts, for me personally, it's impossible not to fall in love with it because it's so wow. Like even being able to observe all that, even just like sitting in the morning after it rained during the night, and then there are like all sorts of creatures coming out, like snails, like little or dragonflies, and just sitting there and observing these dragonflies, how they are flying, and butterflies, and marvelous, marvelous, really, really marvelous. And if we allow ourselves to connect with this immense beauty, and if this with this immense feeling of wow, then falling in love is the next logical step. It occurs naturally if we open ourselves for all that. And if we fall in love with somebody, of course, we want to protect them. We want to nourish them. We want to nurture them because they're important to us. And if we step into this kind of attitude in relationship to the whole of Gaia, this is what I mean with the custodian of Gaia. If we fall in love with the whole, the only sensible thing is to try to preserve the whole, protect the whole, nourish the whole, care for the whole. Yeah. Let me check the chat. Some of you shared something. Nadine shared, so this means most adults today are still selfish children just taking. Absolutely. You hit the nail on its head. Like what we see even in our consciousness, spirituality, online business, and so on bubble are mostly adults behaving as selfish children because it's only about them. It's about their followers, it's about their income, it's about their business, it's about their enlightenment, whatever. It's about them, 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 them. And that's why and it's totally normal. Like if we are living our lives from this orange value paradigm, which was the normality for me a couple of years ago, I was thinking about myself all the time. Like, because why not? If everybody thinks for themselves, like everybody is thought after. This is how Stage Orange lives their lives. But the thing is, nobody thinks for the clean river, and nobody thinks for the oak tree. Yeah. And that's why we are exploiting the natural ecosystems. Hmm. All right, let's continue for a little, and then let's go back to a couple of questions and nice points I want to touch on. So the wha- one more thing I want to explore, which is really important. What is the difference of the last phase shift of like the Leonardo times, the emergence of Stage Orange to what we see now? Stage Orange is still a perpetuation of the of the paradigm that was taking place before. Like blue and orange as vastly like far from each other as they appear, they are still a manifestation of a fundamental standpoint in life of trying to survive. Like blue tries to survive with following orders and being an obedient citizen, following rules. And orange tries to survive by making a lot of money and being famous and having a lot of cars and villas and so on. But it's still coming from a place of I'm trying to survive. And what we see right now when we look at the spiral, oh, this is a nice image I crafted of potential custodianship. I really like this image. Falling in love with the whole. connecting with the immense beauty that is present here. Yeah. Let's connect to the spiral one more time. The last phase shift into orange was still perpetuating this individualistic paradigm of me, 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 me. And the next phase after orange is represented in the spiral with the color green, which emerged around 100, 150 years ago, is another huge leap, but still living life from this whole notion of me, me, me. Because in green, we open ourselves up, we open our hearts, we value emotions, we value collaboration, we value intimacy and relationships, and it's something completely different than orange, and still it's coming from the same place. It's coming from this place of survival. It's coming from this place of I'm a separate individual, and whereas in orange I try to survive by having a lot of money and being famous and so on. In green, we try to survive by having a lot of friends. And if our in-group doesn't approve us anymore and like doesn't want to be friends with us anymore, this creates an existential crisis again, because our well-being and ultimately our survival is not predicated on money anymore, but on relationships. And because that's the case, green is still fundamentally selfish. Because green, and this is what we see a lot, like in these conscious circles, like even here in Bali, people treating you really nice as long as you fulfill some kind of inner criteria they have. Like if you bring some kind of value to them, people treating you super nice, but as soon as you ask an uncomfortable question or don't prove them anymore and don't always say what they want to hear, people can get pretty mean. You see that on social media too. And that's like, even though green looks a lot different than what we saw before, it's still fundamentally very selfish. And this phase shift that I'm talking about, and why this is taking place on a completely different level, this phase shift that I'm talking about, the emergence of yellow. Yellow is the next stage that emerges after green. The emergence of yellow is an even greater and substantial phase shift, because it's shifting from what the spiral calls tier 1 to tier 2. Tier 1 is like the first 6 stages, from beige, just pure instinctive survival, to green. It's just predicated on survival. And then in yellow, in tier 2, life is about being. It's not about survival anymore, because in yellow we realize that this whole survival-oriented game created all this mess on this planet, and we need to embrace life from a completely different perspective. And it's not only about my well-being and my thriving and my fame and my money and my friends and my followers and my well-being and my personal health and so on. It's about the bigger perspective. It's about the health and the well-being and the thriving of like all of the whole ecosystem. And this is what, for the first time, yellow is capable of, this systemic view of, I'm not only optimizing for my personal well-being, for my personal thriving, I'm optimizing for mine and yours and of them and the whole planet and the next 7 generations and this beautiful mountain behind me. And 25 other things, which is so complex, which is so complex. Because when I'm only optimizing for my personal thriving, I might say, if I'd be living in Germany right now, I like pineapple. Pineapple is my favorite fruit. I want to have pineapple for breakfast every day. And if I'm just optimizing for my personal well-being, it makes sense to buy this imported pineapple from Brazil every single day. But if I'm optimizing for the well-being of the whole, probably if I'm in Germany, I will not buy this pineapple, because I know that this pineapple was grown in Brazil or in Bali or wherever and then shipped all around the planet. And let's take the banana as an example, because the banana is even more crazy. Like, my friend Stephen Brooks talks about his fundamental transformative moment as he realized how in Costa Rica, on the Chiquita being the famous banana banana company, how these like little indigenous children, beautiful children, like playing there, and then this airplane with fertilizers flies over this banana plantation and sprays not only this banana plantation, but sprays these beautiful indigenous children too, while they are playing football or with sticks or whatever they are playing with. They are like poisoned. And the company doesn't give a fuck because they know that selling bananas to the US and to Germany and to Japan and to France and wherever brings them a lot of money. And if we are living our place from the optimization for my personal well-being, all of this makes sense. In orange, it makes so much sense to optimize for my personal well-being. Even in green, it makes so much sense to optimize for my personal being because my life only revolves about me. And that's why it's about taking, which is absolutely normal. But this phase shift that we are seeing right now is a broadening of perspective and a different goal definition. Like when you ask companies out there, what is your goal? What is your mission? What is your purpose? What is your vision? Whatever. They will tell something. Whatever it is, it will be too short-sighted. The only sensible goal definition, no matter what you do, no matter who you are, no matter like regardless of your personal circumstance, the only sensible goal definition in this new paradigm, in this stage yellow worldview is the thriving of all life now and into the indefinite future. If we embark on our lives, on our businesses, whatever, with a narrower goal definition than the thriving of all life now and into the indefinite future, we will pretty likely cause harm somewhere else. Imagine a business like working every day with this goal definition. Like my purpose with my business, regardless of what I do, maybe I create smoothies or I manufacture shoes or I do coaching or whatever. But we all have one goal definition with what we are doing, and that is the thriving of all life now and into the indefinite future. This has the possibility to really change something, and that's an impression. That's an expression of this systemic view, what is encapsulated by the yellow stage and spiral dynamics. Yeah. So it's a shift from taking to giving. It's a shift to service, to real service. Like green is a lot of service too, because it thinks that you are a good human being when you are of service. But in yellow, we can be of service because we want to be of service because we genuinely care for the whole. Yeah. And that's exactly what I explore in the book, how this phase shift is taking place right now. That's it. Gaia's Custodians, the emergence of a novel kind of human. On 135 pages, we're exploring this question. How does this phase shift manifest right now? And how can we align ourselves with this phase shift that is taking place right now? And how can we design our systems, be it the education system or the places we are living in, or the economic system, or like our health, our well-being, like how we are navigating this reality. This is what we are exploring, and I cannot think of anything more meaningful to me personally than writing this book over the past six months. It was a beautiful and at the same time very, very challenging journey because there are many parts of myself that are still caught in the old paradigm that came to light and that were invited to be felt and to release. And this process is nowhere near finished, but I sense that crafting this book is the most beautiful medicine for myself too. And that's so interesting. If we step into this phase shift, if we step into this metamorphosis that's taking place, like serving this shift at the same time is the most healing, the most liberating, the most beautiful thing you can do for yourself. It's something that I perceive deeply. Before I want to share a couple of things about the book and have some surprises that I didn't share yet. and of course, make the book accessible for you and so on and so on. I'd love to open the space for things that emerged for you. Is there something you'd like to share? Is there something you'd like to express? I will check in the chat too. There were a couple of sharings. Oh yeah, Petra said, aren't parents always giving more than taking in their lives? And Nadine said for their children, yes, but when it comes to serving the planet, it might be a different picture. And it is also about how we show the giving. Is it with attention and being fully present, or is it giving through consumption? Of course, that's a pretty complex question, but what I see as a fundamental characteristic of this phase shift, of this emergence of of a a higher order being, is that being of service or caring, be it for your children or somebody else, is not something you do in order to get something back, or you do it because you need to do it. It's your obligation, but it's something that genuinely gives you deep meaning and deep fulfillment. And it's more enjoyable for you to give than to take. Like there are so many parents, I had conversations with a lot. There are so many parents out there that are saying, I absolutely want to care for my children in the best way possible, but there are many moments when I think I don't want to care anymore. I want somebody to take care of myself, like care for me. Like I cannot care all day. Like it would be like putting my little one in a sling and carrying it the whole day. It would be so nice if there would be somebody like carrying me. Oh, I need that. Oh yes. That would be really, really, really nice. And that's an expression of still being on the inside, still being a child. Because the imagination of somebody caring for you gives you more pleasure because yeah, of course you cannot do that because it would be pretty pretty unreasonable for an adult to ask like to be carried around whole day. But if it would be possible, that would be really nice. Yeah, this shows that there's still a part inside yourself that wants to be cared and loved for unconditionally. And there's an important book that I mentioned multiple times throughout my book. This is the Continuum Concept by Jean Liedloff, and she explores how in the Amazon jungle, some tribes are living in a completely different way, where children care for others as early as age 3 or 4. They care for their little siblings because they got everything that they needed in the first 1, 2, 3 years of their life, and then they are able to. And people grow up, people mature so much earlier. Like at age 10, 12, 14, they are like already adults. And maybe at age 15, 16, they already get children. Right, let's check what other sharings are there. Heiko says, this all really resonates with me, feeling the unrest and sickness that we have brought upon this beautiful planet. I just want to take care of everything, spread love and light. Hmm, beautiful. Thank you for your sharing. Taking responsibility not only for one's family, but for all of Earth's family. It's a shift in perspective. It's really, really a shift in perspective. While before it was a optimizing for my personal in-group, be it my family or my football team or my country or whatever. Now it's my in-group is like everybody and everything, like the whole of Gaia, and I'm trying to optimize for that, which is a quite daunting task. And it's something we are invited to lean more and more into it. And Yeah, it's the invitation. Is there something else that needs to be shared? If somebody feels the urge to unmute themselves and share something here live, I'd highly appreciate that too. But of course, if you prefer, you can do that over the chat too. Oh, somebody new is coming, letting them in. Vanessa, do you like to share something? I see you and I feel the urge to invite you if you want to.
Hello. Yeah, it's super hot here. I feel it's like 1,000 degrees or something.
Climate change is
Um,
hitting.
oh, wow. Yeah, for me, the point of like being selfish, when we are doing really things, or it opened up some space inside of me or some rooms where I really want to think about, the small things which I'm doing every day, um, and asking myself when I'm doing the things really for other people, because I feel sometimes we are thinking to doing things also for other people, but we not really do. Mm, yeah, so this is for me like a big thing. Mm, yeah, and it's good that we open the space for that to really ask ourselves about our small life and how it is, yeah, connecting to the bigger picture. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for sharing. It's like the amount of complexity that enters our lives if we open ourselves up for this bigger perspective is crazy. Like I oftentimes think life was so simple before, where you were just like focused on some like certain like really simple metric of earning more money or getting good grades or whatever. And now it's like there are so many things to take into consideration and parts of yourself you're starting to question that before were there probably too, but you didn't look at them. And so it felt like that they were not there. And there are times when I feel like, oh, I wish I wish I had maybe just a day. And I think then latest after a day or maybe a couple of days, I will get sick of it. But it would be nice to have the simple life back where you didn't need to ask so many questions and things were more straightforward. But yeah, it's of course an ongoing challenge, and at the same time, it enriches everything in such a beautiful way. And I think when I said it's something that's true for yourself too, that when you begin to ask these questions and you look at these parts of yourself that probably evoke feelings that are not very pleasant, along with that come very pleasant feelings and kind of beauty and the kind of mm, yeah, the kind of aliveness that was not there before. I'd love to read chapter 1 of the book to you. Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice to be able to do that. I'd love to read the first chapter and then I will give you um more insights and more facts and procedures and everything around the book and changes we did, last minute changes we did. That are pretty radical. Yeah, all of that in a couple of minutes. Let's dive into the first chapter. The first chapter is called The Beginning of Existence. Hmm. Why our children lose their most basic trust in life. It's April 21, 1990. It's my due date. The doctors calculated that I should see the light of the world today. My grandma works as a nurse at the hospital where my mom will give birth to me. And today is her birthday. All the conditions appear to be aligned perfectly. With one exception, me. Somehow I wasn't really fond of the plans the doctors made for me. Due date was just another ordinary day for me to enjoy my warm and cozy home inside my mom's belly. The days passed and I didn't give any signs of ambition to change my habitat. After a week, everybody got nervous. Let's wait another 1 or 2 days, but not more, they said. After 10 days of waiting, it was enough. On May 1st, 1990, at 9:50 p.m., I was taken out of my beloved residence, and it wasn't a gentle process. Although my mom was still feeling calm, the doctors and nurses pressured her into agreeing to a C-section. She hesitantly said yes, for the safety of your son, they told her. The anesthetics kicked in, the head doctor cut her open, my dad passed out, and soon after I was birthed. The nurses cleaned me up, weighed me, and performed a host of routine checks to see if everything was okay. Then my dad came to consciousness, and they handed me over to him. After a while, the anesthetics faded out, and my mom, too, became aware again. A routine procedure for the doctors and nurses. Everything went according to plan. Their job was done. But there was one problem. Nothing went according to plan, according to nature's plan. When the nurses put me on my mom's breast, she didn't feel anything. No connection to this little being, just a deep sense of sadness. What was wrong with her? Nothing. Her body did a marvelous job. The only natural reason why there isn't a warm, breathing little being in her arms directly after it left her body is that it is dead. And her body reacts perfectly to this catastrophe. No motherly feelings and the immediate beginning of the grieving process. Not even the sense of a newborn on her skin can convince her body otherwise. Nature didn't plan for C-sections. This feeling of disconnection lasted for many months, until slowly her system adjusted to the reality it wasn't prepared for, but not without severe consequences. Harsh judgments against herself of being a horrible mother that isn't even able to love her own child. As a result, she wasn't able to care for me as I would have needed it during my first months. Being with me exhausted her quickly, but the never-ending self-judgments were the biggest problem. Of course, this affected me too. When the mother is not physically or emotionally available, it profoundly affects the baby. The mother state serves as a tuning fork for the baby state. Huge relief could have occurred if someone had told her what was really going on, that her body reacted perfectly, and neither she nor her baby was the problem. The problem is the system. A fundamentally broken system that robs mothers and their children of the most important event in life, being primed onto each other, experiencing the beginning of this new life in harmony, love, and bliss. The midwife who assisted in my son Leonel's birth here in Bali told us that it has become perfectly normal for Indonesian mothers to give birth via C-section. Not even because of medical necessity, something we really need to question anyway, but because of convenience. Convenience for the hospital, more money with less work. And convenience for the mother, no pain and a quick birthing process with dire consequences. After 3 consecutive generations of women birthed by C-section, the body can lose the capability for a natural childbirth for all future generations. That would be nothing short of a disaster. Currently, the majority of Indonesians are at 2 consecutive C-sections. Why do so many doctors resort to this incredibly harmful way of bringing a child into this world? Because the natural process takes too much time and therefore costs too much money. After hours of no progress, the doctors lose their patience and want to speed up things. But seemingly nobody asked the question why progress is so slow at most births at all. Let's look to the animal kingdom to answer this question. A pregnant cat looks for the most peaceful, quiet, and safe place she can find. A dark corner far away from anyone. The slightest hint of danger or threat stops the birthing process immediately. A perfectly reasonable reaction so she can escape. Labor only continues when she feels safe again. Now let's take a look at modern hospitals. Bright, fluorescent lights, all sorts of strange machines, and many unfamiliar people stopping by to check on her, mostly with a grim face caused by the long working hours and high stress level. A whole array of predators. Definitely not the peaceful, quiet, and safe place her body needs in order to give birth easily. Mothers and their babies require maximum relaxation in order to be able to surrender fully. But the calamity doesn't stop in the birthing room. As Jean Leloff puts out in her important book, The Continuum Concept, permanent skin-to-skin contact is the most important need of every newborn. For at least 6 to 12 months until these little beings start to explore the world on their own by crawling and later walking, they need to be carried around everywhere. That's how they learn, passively experiencing life from the safety of the hip of their parents or any other loving caregiver. Babies don't want to be the center of attention. Multiple adults looking down on them while expressing utterances of strange baby speak and waiting for their object of observation to do something evokes a deep sense of unease in them. They just want a strong, independent adult living his or her life and letting it participate in it. That's how they learn. If all eyes are on them, they often begin to cry, not for more attention, but for less attention. They just want to be a passive part of an active life. What happens if the little boy is put down in his super soft baby bed in his own beautifully decorated baby room that his parents prepared with all their love? He starts crying. But why? Apparently nothing is missing. His loving mother just fed him, changed his diapers, set the room at a comfortable temperature, and even invested a lot of money in a whole zoo of stuffed animals. A lion, a bear, a dolphin, and a rabbit. The little one should be in paradise. But actually he is in hell. And his cries clearly indicate that. They sound like someone is being tortured, because he is being tortured right now. Each baby lives in the eternal now, without memory of the mummy's loving presence 5 minutes ago, or the awareness that she's in the kitchen next door preparing dinner. For him, the only thing that counts is that she is not there right now. She abandoned him, and this caused a deep fear of death in him. Without his mother, he will die within days. This is the most profound fear any human being can experience, without the capability for hope, just all-encompassing and never-ending hell. Until his mom opens the door, picks him up, and puts him to her breast. Warm, sweet milk is flowing into his mouth. He is in paradise again. Everything is in perfect order, without any remembrance of the hell he endured a minute ago. Until he puts him into his bed and picks up her dinner preparations. Then his devouring hellfire awaits him again. This is the normality of babies in modern civilization. As a consequence, they develop a mistrust in life. Where a deep, excuse me. As a consequence, they develop a mistrust in life and in other people. At the place where an unshatterable basic trust should have emerged. Just a hole remains. When the child gets older, this hole becomes much more apparent through a host of behavior that is not in alignment with the thriving of his tribe. He becomes a real troublemaker. He constantly craves attention. He throws his food on the floor instead of eating it. A younger sibling becomes a hostile intruder, a competitor for the love of his parents. And through the little one, receiving more attention than him, his behavior exacerbates. He hits other children and adults. Sharing toys is not something he does without being forced to. He starts crying at the slightest incident and by default always does the opposite of what his parents tell him to do. In new environments, he's super shy and clings to his parents. Unfamiliar people are perceived as a potential threat. No wonder why so many parents are hopelessly overwhelmed. Their helpless reactions to the behavior of their little troublemaker obviously makes things even worse. Yelling at him, all sorts of punishments, and a relationship that is devoid of love, patience, and warmth. Everything because of this hole inside him, where a deep trust in life could and should have developed. Caused by an artificial birth setting, lack of immediate skin-to-skin contact, not being carried around all the time, and not enough stimulation while being held in the safety of the hip of a loving caregiver. This decides upon paradise or hell. Every time I connect with that, my dedication to this kind of work strengthens. It's like every time I connect to that, I'm like, this is so incredibly important. Like how we begin life is the most crucial thing of all. And then still recognizing that we are living in living circumstances where it's so difficult to care for the next generation the way they really need it. Of course, I'm aware of all that, and still like seeing Leo with his 2 years old, he's like super free and like beautiful, and I'm so happy about this like development and everything. And still there are certain behaviors already um showing some of these dynamics, and I'm like how? Like how? Yeah. I just got reminded that my camera is only 20% battery left. Wait a second. I'll attach it to the charger. Yeah, charging. Beautiful. Is there anything first chapter evoked in yourself that you'd like to share? Is present, as difficult as that might be.
Can I share in German?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Ja, ich danke dir einfach fürs Sichtbarmachen. Und das finde ich halt ganz wichtig, dass uns einfach klar wird, in einer Welt wir leben und in welchen Prozessen und wie Kinder geboren werden und dass das einfach ins Bewusstsein gehoben wird und uns ja einfach sichtbar wird, wie unnatürlich das halt einfach alles ist. Und ja, dafür wollte ich mich bedanken, dass du das alles wirklich, diese ganzen Infos in die Sichtbarkeit hebst und somit wir uns darüber bewusst werden, in welcher Welt wir halt einfach gerade leben und in, ja, gerade mit der Geburt, das ist halt schon, ja, schon heftig irgendwie. Also, das hinterlässt auf jeden Fall was. Ja, danke. Hm.
Danke dir. Elena, you'd like to share too? You raise your hand.
I'm German.
Oh, you're
I,
Hmm.
I try my, I will practice my English. So thank you for sharing so much. It touched me so deep because it reminds me of the birth of my daughter, where I also faced this circumstances and how they deal with birth in hospitals, and I was I was so deeply in this feeling of what is right and wrong, and I wanted to give birth in some private place, but well, that's the point. You, it so much depends uh, of every other members you're sharing this life with, of your family, and well, they still live in scarcity. So it was like about it's not secure, and you have to give the birth in hospital. And in hospital, even I was about to just to give birth with just one nurse. I didn't want it, a doctor to assist because I thought this is the most safest way to give birth naturally. And well, it went quite good. It was a very fast birth. It was so nice. But at the end, she cut the cord. And my daughter, and I really wanted so much for her, for everything, for the nutrition. It was so, I was dreaming about this perfect birth where we were lying together and, well, everything. Yeah, and they cut her and brought her to in the place. There is a child hospital inside, specialized for pre-birth and stuff like this. And she was really under all these machines for no need at all. It was not necessary. She was not ill. It was just she cut it because she was not screaming so fast, and it's totally normal. And she was, well, I think the nurse was just too stressed. I don't know what was the reason, but well, it was so it's so ironic that I wanted the best. I wanted the less yeah, the less forced birth circumstances, and well, what I got is the most forced. And with seeing her there lying onto all these machines like a pre-birth, and it was so hard. And I experienced the same what you're writing about your mother. Really, it was so this connection and this, well, being still connected with the cord. I think it's the most important. Of course, I know because physiology and medicine tells us it's so necessary for the hormones to work. And I was also experiencing this kind of separation from her. And I don't know, magically then after the second night, it was just a few hours because it was in the middle of the night. And next day I went to her and I took her out with all her, and she was screaming. She was screaming all the night. All the nurses told us, you need to come with this. And I took her out and let her being with me and slept there in a little chair beside her with her on my chest. I think it was really the point where I ruled it over. And so now she's also, but it's what I'm leading to. It was also my first thought where I wrote this with beautiful utopia. It's an utopia because when you're the one carrying this awareness of this beautiful world where we're all in connection, of this beautiful future of the yellow state, and you're still living in the scarcity, you're still living in the hustle town, you're still living in the in the other regions, and you're surrounded by that. It's so difficult. It's so difficult to fight against it. Yeah, you literally have to fight against it. And these little steps, which seem so naturally, how like giving birth like you wanted as a mother, it's so difficult. And at the end, your surrounding beats you and pulls you in another direction. And afterwards, it's now 2.5 years, and regarding birth, I'm still carrying these emotions with me, the regret, why I should have been more strong and more direct. And it's with many other things too. Like it's not easy. It's not easy. It's so beautiful when you live there, when you're already, the first steps you made is already in this direction, and you live mostly free. And but I think this is also the big challenge and the big task, to bring this awareness in still while still living here, and to infiltrate it with this new awareness and the new direction. Thank you for letting me share. It was so beautiful. So beautiful to listen to this part of your book. Thank you.
Elena, I want to appreciate you for having the courage to take your little one out of this crazy setting, like, and sleeping with her in this chair. I deeply sense that it's the greatest gift you will ever give her in her life, to not be forced to spend like this. Like, imagine there's this little being in like perfect abundance inside the belly, like it's warm and gets nourished, and like everything is perfect. Everything is like absolutely perfect. And then like so many changes on the outside happen simultaneously. Think it's colder, like the sounds are more pronounced, and smells, and like everything changes, and then you are just by yourself in this little container with fluorescent light and beeping noises and nobody there. Of course it's hell. It's because the contrast is so stark. It's like, thank you for doing that. I think
the
I really,
paradox.
yeah,
Sorry,
please
the
share.
paradox is they put some infusions in her to give her electrolytes. It's so crazy. She could have them easily with the blood from the cord, from the placenta, so naturally, and it's so alien. It's really crazy. It's like it should be forbidden doing this. Well, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Elena. I really like to touch on what Nadine and Petras shared in the chat, about the gratitude that interventions like these exist nowadays, that it's possible to save the life of the mother and the child by C-section if it's an emergency. I absolutely agree with you. And for me, this is true for like all of technology that we as human beings created for ourselves, like the smartphone, like everything. It's a huge blessing that we created the opportunity to use that. But the problem is that we as a society didn't develop the wisdom to know when to use it and when not to use it. So I'm absolutely not against like hospital birth. If it's necessary, like it's way better to to birth a child this way than to for mom for mommy and baby or both or one of them to die. Of course, that's like a lot better. So it's nice to have this to have this as a potential plan B. But like in my birth, from what my mother shared with me, my grandma shared with me, and like all my explorations into this topic, it was absolutely not an emergency. It was like, okay, like why is the baby still there? It's finished. Like let's just bring it. And this is absolutely not the wisdom we need to use these technologies in a wise way. Of course, as I said, like with these smartphones, with social media, if you have the wisdom to use it in a way that is that you are aware of its potential downsides and you use it in a way that it only serves you, amazing. But we as a collective, we as a species are invited to develop this wisdom, because if we use the technology like every time, all the time, we create a lot of harm. Is there anybody else who would like to share something? I'd love to bring a little masculine energy in. Heiko, do you want to share? I'm looking at you. You look like there's a lot going on inside yourself.
Sure. Thank you, first of all, for sharing and for reading to us. This, yeah, really resonated with me because I myself was born via C-section and was put in an incubator for the first time of my life. And you mentioning this deep insecurity that occurs in children that go through this process because they don't have the presence and the touch, skin to skin contact with their parents and with a mother deeply impacts babies and children for the rest of their lives. And that's something that, or that hole that I have been working on filling through different means. Now spirituality, working on myself, but in my teens it was filled with other things and more unhealthy things and coping mechanisms. And it's so deeply profound and also kind of disturbing to me that this isn't something that is more known to more people, because I think the majority of people don't really think about it, don't really know how much of an impact it has on children and on adults later on, because those children turn into insecure adults if they don't start working on themselves. And that creates a whole another chapter of different problems. And also the solution is so profoundly simple and natural that it's just I think really nice. It's not something we need to work on and need to, I don't know, something we have to invent or anything. It's just using those methods, like you said, in a way to as a plan B if something does go wrong. It's definitely great to have those things. Same as if your appendix bursts, I want a doctor to take it out, but if it doesn't need to be taken out, I don't want it to be taken out of my body. And but that is just so easy to fix this. Just natural childbirth and just wrap your baby around your body with like a towel or something and just carry it around. And you don't really have to do anything. It's not about what you do with it. It's not about having to learn all these things, how to take care of a baby. It's just like take it with you and be close to it and just be there with your presence and love. And I think that is also true for a lot of, or most other areas in life. Just presence and love is all that we need. And so I think it's really profound and nice that your book really brings that across that point, across to to get back to the natural ways to love and presence in all areas of life. And I think that's the solution if we can go back to that feeling and that frequency. That yeah, it's an easy solution, and we know how to do it. We just have to get back. And so I thank you for just for shedding the light on this topic and making it more known to more people that this is an issue and it has an easy solution.
Thank you. There are times when I think it's an easy solution, and then there are times when I think it's insanely hard, because of course, like knowing what's going on doesn't prevent you from doing the things that are not helpful, because of course you're like caught in your own conditionings, and as Elena shared, like she was approaching the birth of her baby in a like really conscious way, and then she got drawn into like agendas of other people and fear, and but thank you for your sharing. Denise, I think you raised your hand too. Do you want to connect to that?
Auf Deutsch teilen. Verstehen tue ich
Ja,
alles, aber ich kann mich nicht so gut ausdrücken.
Okay.
Erstmal vielen Dank für dein Projekt, für deine Liebe, für all das, was du rausträgst. Ich begleite das ja schon oder verfolge das schon so lange, und ich finde es einfach mindblowing, mega schön. Und mag euch dazu gerne auch was teilen, was mir gerade so kommt. Ich lebe jetzt hier in der Schweiz, bin vor 14 Jahren ausgewandert aus Deutschland und lebe auch in den Bergen hier, also mit Natur pur. Und meine Tochter war 1,5, als wir ausgewandert sind. Und ich war 25, als ich Mutter wurde, und ich habe keine Ahnung, woher diese Weisheit kam, weil mein komplettes Umfeld damals in Deutschland komplett einfach alles anders gemacht hat, als ich es gespürt habe. Meine eigene Begleitung, meine eigene Geburt, die Geburten meiner Nichten und Neffen. Und ich habe irgendwie so ein inneres Calling gehabt, nein, ich möchte nicht ins Spital oder ins Krankenhaus, nein, ich habe eine Hausgeburt und ich möchte stillen. Dann wurde aus diesem Stillen, ich habe 5 Jahre gestillt, dann ich möchte kein Kinderzimmer, ich möchte ein Familienbett. Also wir waren wirklich am Anfang so die Aliens, und alle haben gedacht, oh Gott, die lassen nicht impfen. Also so wirklich so alles, ne? Und das Schöne aber daran war, Menschen oder Familien in unserem Umfeld, die einfach auch schon Kinder hatten, es schon vielleicht zweimal anders gemacht hatten, waren überhaupt nicht so im Widerstand und fühlten sich nicht so wie vielleicht meine Mutter, so betroffen von wegen, habe ich das jetzt falsch gemacht, weil ihr es anders macht, sondern sie haben einfach gesehen, dass wir in jedem Lebensbereich es einfach definitiv leichter hatten. Also es ist egal was. Wir sind nonstop gereist, egal ob 14 Stunden Flug. Es war nichts ein großes Problem. Klar, meine Tochter war auch gesund, aber es kamen nie große Hürden auf uns zu. Wir haben einfach alles gemacht. Und dann haben wir wirklich damit auch ein bisschen das Umfeld angesteckt. Also die nächsten Kinder und auch die Kinder meiner Geschwister haben dann alle das sich rausgezogen, was sie auch für sich gut konnten. Und egal, ob sie dann vielleicht arbeiten mussten, die Mütter, aber sie haben trotzdem versucht, die meiste Zeit mit ihrem Kind zu sein. Und das war einfach so schön zu beobachten. Und jetzt, ich meine, ich habe es eben geschrieben, 16 Jahre später, es kommt mir nicht so lange vor, ich sehe einfach die unfassbaren Früchte von dieser Basis. In Zeiten, wo meine Tochter vielleicht mal die Schule verweigert hat und wir gesagt haben, okay, du musst nicht mehr zur Schule, wenn du da keinen Bock mehr drauf hast, du entscheidest. Und sie sich aber mit 9 Jahren entschieden hat, nee, ich möchte nicht ohne meine Freunde sein, ich gehe wieder in diese Schule. Und es war eine ganz normale Schule, ne? Wobei es in der Schweiz auch nochmal anders läuft. Aber also so diese Selbstwirksamkeit. Und jetzt mit 16 sagt, ich möchte alleine reisen. Und wir gesagt haben, ja, okay, dann kriegst du jetzt mal, bevor du irgendwie weißt, was du machen willst, 1 Jahr, wo du das machen kannst, was du willst. Ja, okay, ich will Spanisch lernen. Ja, dann geh nach Barcelona. Also es ist einfach so, ich hätte mir das vor 10 Jahren niemals gedacht, dass sie mit 16 schon so selbstständig ist und mir einfach zeigt, dass sie heute selbstständiger ist als ich mit 42. Ich habe es dir die Tage geschrieben. Also sie hält mir jeden Tag den Spiegel vor, in your face, Mama, guck rein. Und es ist so geil, sich da auch loslassen zu können, so sein Ego. Ich bin jetzt die Mutter, ich habe jetzt mehr Lebenserfahrung. Nein, habe ich nicht, weil sie hat in diesen 16 Jahren schon Dinge erfahren und erlebt und so eine Grundbasis für alles, was ich ja gar nicht aufholen kann. So. Und das ist einfach so, einfach nur geil. Also ich kann da nur jeden Menschen ermutigen, sich von diesem System und von diesen Konzepten zu lösen, weil es ist alles in uns. Es ist, das ganze Wissen ist in uns. Wir dürfen einfach nur auf unser Herz hören. Amen. Ja.
Ein ganz großes Amen. Danke fürs Scheren, Denise. Ah. Ja, es ist wunderschön zu sehen, dass es schon Role Models gibt, wo die Kinder jetzt schon größer sind. Ich lerne ganz viele Familien kennen, wo die auch klein sind und Dinge anders gemacht werden und mit einer anderen Philosophie. Aber zu sehen, oh mein Gott, sie ist 16 und wie ist sie jetzt, nachdem sie auf eine andere Art und Weise aufgewachsen ist ganz, ganz inspirierend. Danke fürs Teilen.
Voll gern. Ich will noch hinzufügen, der Empfang würde schlechter werden, wenn ich jetzt in ihr Zimmer gehen würde. Aber ihre Wände sind voll von Manifestationssprüchen und Postern. Und wenn meine Freundinnen kommen, dann gehen sie in ihr Zimmer und sagen, oh mein Gott, sie ist so weise. Lies dir das durch. Das ist so geil.
Oh
Wollte
mein
ich
Gott.
nur hinzufügen. Und einfach nie, weil sie irgendein Konzept gelesen hat, ein Buch gekauft hat, ist es einfach da.
Hm. Amazing. Ja, ja. Die Kinder sind unsere größten Teacher. Alright. Danke, Denise. Schön. Alright, let's switch back to English. Nadine shared in the chat. Robert, thank you so much for this wonderful room you created today. I'm looking forward to read the book and follow up with the exchange on it. Sadly, I have to leave now as we are going outside. Thank you for your presence, Nadine. Thank you, thank you. All right. Hmm. Oh, there's a long sharing by Valerie. I will read it. Unfortunately, I can only be there today without a camera and sound because I'm at a family celebration and I'm trying my best to follow you anyway because I find the topic so important and you speak from my soul in so many points. I'm a sustainable interior designer specializing in biophilic design. Beautiful. And Erich Fromm's concept of biophilia, our innate. Oh, biophilia is a topic that I'm unpacking in the book too. Oh, sweet. Looking forward with you. What is your feedback to my sharings? Yeah. Our innate love of things is in everything you say. Right. Work is therefore not only about designing healthy spaces in connection with nature, but also about bringing this idea back into the world so that, as you said, we quite naturally no longer are only care about ourselves, but about the world that surrounds us. I found it really interesting that you showed us that our solutions, unfortunately, only ever cause more problems. And I asked myself, what is the way out of this dilemma? You talked about it, but unfortunately, I only heard out of it. Could you go into it again? In any case, thank you so much for this book. I'm looking forward to reading it. Valerie, I'm looking forward to connect more when there is space for yourself to be more present. Looks super interesting what you're doing. Uh, I'm reminded of 2 weeks ago when I held the Evolutionary Path workshop and Elena, um, who shared earlier, asked a similar question. What's the solution? Tell me. And I said, there is no fucking one solution. There is like, that's an expression of the way we try to solve problems in the past by looking for the one thing, looking for the, okay, what is the answer? What is the answer? What do I need to do? But through acknowledging that there is no one answer, that there is no one thing, that there is no one solution, and that it's about probably 275 different things that are important and necessary. Of course, that's another complexity that our lazy brains don't like. But I think we are invited to the next book. There's no one thing beautiful. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think we are invited to begin where we are. Like whatever resonates for you right now, lean into that, and know that this inner voice tells you exactly the right step. And then you do that present, like you lean into it. And if tomorrow something else emerges, you lean into that too. I think this is like how Leonardo became Leonardo, through following what is present right now. He had the impulse to paint something. Okay, let's paint. Tomorrow he had the impulse to like design some kind of technology and like engineer something. Okay, let's do that. The next day he felt the urge to do some music. Okay, let's grab an instrument and let's do some music. The day after, he felt the urge to go outside in nature and to study how a butterfly is flying and the wings and like everything. And he studied that. And then the next day he painted again. And that's how he became Leonardo, through allowing himself to be everything he is and everything he wants to express. And that's an invitation I want to put out there. Trusting that these natural impulses lead us in the right direction without knowing the exact path, without being able to predict it, is absolutely crucial for me personally. Because everything else is the manifestation of the old kind of thinking that got us into the mess in the first place. Yeah. All right. I'd love to share some further details about the book, and then we're going to close this space with the meditation. All right. As probably most of you have already noticed, I'm a huge proponent of the gift-based alternative economic model. For me, it's like, since I dove into these dynamics 4 years ago through Charles Eisenstein's beautiful book, Sacred Economics, like how our economic system is driving the whole meta crisis. Like, if all the different things, they are interlinked and they are taking place, like there's one thing, like putting a lot of oil into the fire, and that's the economic system that says like faster, grow more every day, more. And it's like an amplifier for all these dynamics. And at the root of our economic system lies this assumption of separation, that we are separate individuals, that more for you is less for me. And if I believe that more for you is less for me, it makes absolutely so much sense to in economic settings to try to optimize for my own well-being. If I'm an employee at a company, I try to get as much salary as possible. If I'm an entrepreneur, I'd like to have a like as high as possible margin and pay my employees as little money as possible and extract as much money as possible from my customers so that I have a substantial amount for myself. If I'm a customer somewhere, I always try to get the lowest possible price without thinking about the further implications. Like, okay, how the fuck is it possible to buy a shirt at Primark for like $5, €5? Like how is that possible? Okay, maybe somebody down the road suffers from that. But of course, if I'm just like optimizing for my personal well-being, I'm like only interested in buying the shirt for $5 and not for 20 or 50 or whatever. So this underlying assumption that we are separate individuals in a world of other is at the core of our economic system. And if this assumption doesn't resonate with us anymore, and we sense that, no, we are not separate individuals, we are like one, we are like interconnected. I feel that from the depth of my heart, I feel the interconnectedness of everything. I feel interconnected with all of you guys. I feel interconnected with the Balinese forest, and that somehow I feel interconnected with the things that are going on the other side of the planet. I feel that. And if I feel that, I want to express that. And the current economic paradigm, in there, it's not possible for me to express that, because it's like I'm forced into a setting that plays like with other rules, with rules that don't resonate with my heart. And that's why I made the decision to, over the past years, lean more into the gift-based paradigm of like creating my sacred work, putting everything, all my love, all my creativity into my work, and then putting it out there and gifting it to people, and not trying to get as much as possible for me, but really trusting that the people with whom what I put out there creates value for and resonates with and brings beauty and truth and goodness in their lives, that they feel the gratitude for having received the gift. And this gratitude leads them to giving a gift in return. And then, as much as my mind is challenged by that, I will be taken care of by giving everything away. At the same time, I will be taken care of too. This was probably my journey over the past 4 years of leaning more and more and more into this direction and convincing, seeing like being the living proof that it really works, that the universe really works this way. The more you give, like, things flow back to yourself and you are taken care of. And a couple of weeks ago, I had a profound realization. I shared that in the last podcast episode I put out there. I had the profound realization that as much as I leaned into this direction over the past 4 years, I'm not fully all in, and I want to go fully all in. And it doesn't resonate with me anymore to do business in a classical way, or to put products and services out there that have a fixed price and cold anonymous transactions take place where people buy your product and they transfer you money or PayPal or whatever, and it's just like a number. And like, you are doing your launches and your business, and in the end you check in how many customers did you get and how much revenue and whatever, and this feels like so wrong. No, I didn't want to participate in that anymore. I really wanted to step out there. And earlier I already made the decision to offer this book in the gift economy too. And since with the creation of this book, there are like certain costs associated with printing and with the team that crafted this beautiful piece of art, and with the transaction of like selling it, and for technical infrastructure and so on and so on. There are costs related to that. So I made the decision to put there's a basic price to cover for those costs. And if you want to read the book, then you need to cover those basic costs. And above that, you're invited to check in what you want to contribute. And you can contribute as much as it feels right for you. And when I made this decision, like in the beginning of this year, this felt right. But when I had this realization of, no, I want to step into the realm of the gift fully, even this like half-ass version felt wrong. Because I was like, no, this creates again a barrier. This again creates a barrier. And I sense that the only possible way forward is to offer the book as a gift, like unconditionally, without a paywall, without like minimum costs you need to cover, like really putting it out there and letting it travel as far and as wide as possible, because this message is so important. We all sense that today. It's so important. This needs to go out there. And then trusting that the right people with whom this message resonates will feel the urge to contribute something. And then somehow I and we who created this book will be taken care of too. And this then led to a decision I needed to make that was really tough. Really, really tough. And this was the decision to, for now, not print the book. And for now, only offer it as an ebook. Because I realized that when I print the book, I need to order a substantial amount of books in order to drive the price down to a rate where it makes sense. Like, nobody would pay, like, I don't know, 70 euros for a book. It's unreasonable in order to drive the price down to like only for printing between like 12, 15, 16 euros, which is already a lot for printing. In order to drive the price down, we need to order like a lot of books. And if I would make this decision to order this huge amount of books and put in all this money up front, then I'm forced into doing business, because I need to recoup the investment I already put in. I need to do sales, I need to push, and I need to, and so on, just in order to be able to recoup the investment I already put in for printing all these books. And I sense that if I do make this decision, and if I make the upfront investment, and if I print the book and order huge quantities, then this is not in alignment with living in the gift, with making it accessible. And this was so hard, because how this book emerged was as a like I really saw this transition of consuming knowledge, consuming wisdom away from being glued to these technical devices. I really saw, like, I really was in contact with the magic of sitting on your sofa or in your garden or by the river and having this like physical, beautiful piece of art in your hand without the need to use all this technology, like this technical infrastructure, and being able to just read this book and dive into it. And I was so in love with this feeling, with this image in my mind, that it was very hard to let go of that. But in the end, I realized in order to be able to be in alignment with the overarching principle of being in the gift and putting it out there and creating no barriers, creating no paywalls, creating no like boundaries, I cannot make the decision to pre-order so many books, and I cannot make the decision to offer it in print for now. And this is probably something that will change in the future, because some things will emerge. All the people who love this book will come together in a group and say, let's order that together, and everybody puts a little bit of money in and we order that together and then everybody gets it. But like the standard way of me doing the investment and then putting it out there and then needing to be like being forced to do business is not the path forward. So for now, there will be no print version. Everybody who already pre-ordered the print version, of course, we will refund your money, sure. And for now, there's only an ebook version, but I sense that making this decision ultimately leads to way more alignment, and looking forward to the day where I'm able to hold this physical printed manifestation and smelling like the pages. And I'm looking forward to this, and it's tough for me to have the patience to not be able to do that right now, but it feels like the right step. So the book is living fully in the gift. There will be no paywall. There will be no minimum transaction, whatever costs. You can just download it for $0 and you can dive into it. And whenever you sense that you want to contribute something, like we as a team, we're super, super, super grateful for all the contributions, because of course we're still living with one leg in the new paradigm and with one leg in the old paradigm, and we have bills to pay, and of course. And that's why it's challenging to step into the gift fully, but my heart tells me there's no other path. So I needed to make this decision. And I'm very grateful to be able to gift this book to you and to gift this book to the world, and to remove all the barriers, to remove all the boundaries, and really make it accessible, because I feel this message is important and it needs to travel. And the second thing is that what we are witnessing now for all of us participating live is that there's not only value in like new realizations, new epiphanies, and understanding things and being in your own process and so on and so on. There's a lot of value in being on this journey together and in connecting and in co-creating. And that's why the second thing that is really important for me right now is that we created the Telegram group. It's called Gaia's Custodians. Some of the beautiful human beings who are participating live today are already part of the Telegram group. I invited a couple of people here and there. I think we're like around 40 people right now, but this needs to grow. There are so many amazing human beings who are exploring these questions and who are making steps more and more into this new paradigm, and who are participating in this phase shift while still being torn like in the old reality. And yeah, I want to create more spaces where we can collaborate, and where we can have conversations and be on this journey together. And that's why we too opened the Telegram group for everybody. When you download the book, you can immediately join the Telegram group. Before there was a barrier as well. We said, okay, you need to order 2 books and pay it forward and gift it to another person, and then you are invited to the group. No, Telegram group is accessible. You will get the link after diving into the book, like immediately at the end of the book, and in the welcome email, you always get the link, and you're invited to join the Telegram group. So this is the direction forward. No boundaries, no barriers, just all into service, in the gift. And this feels very liberating, and at the same time very, very stretching. Yes, but right. And I'd love for you, everybody joining live, to be the first ones that receive the final version. The link is in the chat for everybody watching the recording. The link will be underneath. As I said, you can just dive in. You can download it. There's a version optimized for desktop or for tablet, and there's a version optimized for mobile if you'd like to read it on your phone. I absolutely encourage you to enjoy it on a bigger screen, because it's a beautifully designed piece of art and it's just nice. It's beautiful to look at, and it deserves a bigger space. But yeah, feel free to dive into the book in whichever way you wish. Thank you for your sharings in the chat. And there's one more surprise. We are currently working on the German translation, because so many people ask, like, yeah, oh my God, I get it, like this is important, but the intricacy of topics, it's complicated, and it's easier to grasp for me if it's in German. Of course, if it's not necessary to print like substantial amounts of books, and we can only do it as an ebook in the beginning. Of course, it's not a big deal to do the translation. So we're working on it. Will be hopefully finished pretty soon, and then you can dive into the German version too. I want to invite you to already download the English version so that we have your email address, and then when the German version is finished, we will just send it to you, and you get notified and be the first ones who can dive into the German version too. Yes. So that's my invitation for you to use the rest of this weekend and maybe the rest of our lives to explore these topics and embody the phase shift that's taking place, and to surrender to the greater forces, not trying to hold on, not trying to embark on this journey with this change maker attitude of we need to save the world and let's so like that for me personally is an expression of the old paradigm thinking. But surrendering and trusting that the right things will emerge, and if this phase shift should take place, it will take place, and at the same time it depends on me playing a part of it, and that's why I just contribute who I am and what I do, and then I let the chips fall and know that the right things will take place. So yeah, that's the approach we are invited to, with an open heart and at the same time with a sharp mind, because it's important that these areas like play together. Because with a lot of mind-based decision making, we created the mess, and it's important to like use your mind to redesign those systems. Only with saying like love and peace and harmony, we are still caught in the green, which is a nice step in the right direction, but it's still like in the survival. And yeah, we need to bring these two dimensions together, and this is what the yellow paradigm and the spiral teaches us to use like everything that we have, all our technological capacities and all our biological capacities dedicated for the thriving of our life that is now and into the indefinite future. That's the invitation I want to put out there. Yes. And that's what I said initially. Initially, we are collectively living a life that doesn't exist anymore. Like still trying to hold on to the good life, like doing the things, consuming, going to school, going to a job, and hoping that the future will be nice and so on. This is not existing anymore. Like either everything will crash or we will evolve into a higher order being, and things will be so much more beautiful, and at the same time, in the process, so much more challenging than before. And I'm surprised how this unfolds. And of course, I will dedicate everything I am and everything I have to serving this shift that I sense is taking place. And everywhere I go, and everywhere with all the conversations I have, and with all the people I meet, it gets more and more felt like deeply ingrained in myself. Yes. All right. Thank you all for your sharings. I have one more thing I want to. I will share that in a couple of days, like on a more nuanced level. But I want to put something out there because I really enjoyed our co-creative space today with the sharings and so on, and like the topics that the book dives into is is nothing you just like, it's not an easy read for half an hour before bedtime and then it's sleeping nicely. It's intensity. There's a lot going on. And in order to embark on this process, for me personally, it's valuable to connect with other people and to create these co-creative settings and to share. And how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel when you like, how do you feel about your own birth? Like asking these questions and being able to unpack that. I think this is like so valuable. That's why there will be a book club. Starting probably in 2 weeks. I think I will give everybody a little bit of time to dive into the book and to start exploring. And then I think in 2 weeks, I will send that out later. We're going to have the first session about the first chapter, and we are going to explore that together. And then over the next week, everybody can dive on their own into the next chapter, and then we will come together again in an online co-creative space, and then we can talk about all these things, and we can ponder questions, and we can dive deeper, and we can share how do we feel about that, and so on. And then there's the next chapter, and then there's the next session. And I think this process can aid our integration journey and make this process so much more richer, and at the same time creates beautiful community. And that's what I like to offer too. So there will be a book club, but of course, download, dive in, enjoy it, and have a beautiful and at the same time probably challenging time with what I put out there. It's the nature of the times we live in, and that's the nature of life. Yeah. All right, friends. Since we are almost approaching our 3-hour finish line, and it was an intense process today, I think it's not a good idea to do a super deep meditation. But I'd like to do a little practice for all of us to arrive at our hearts and yeah. The beautiful song we listened to in the beginning, it's called Metamorphosis. It's one of my favorite songs. I listen to that often, and it's around 10 minutes, and it has beautiful lyrics. And I want to propose that we listen to the song together and really tune into this vibration. And for me personally, there are not many vehicles that are able to accomplish this better than music. So I'd love to share the song with you and want to invite us to just be in the space, let ourselves be touched by it, and see what comes up. Yeah. I'd look forward to see you all in the Telegram group. As I said, download the book, and you will immediately via email get an invitation to the Telegram group. So if you'd like to explore these topics further with people like the beautiful souls that we're in the space here together, come on over. There will be a lot of important conversations, sharings, resources already, like with only 40 people that are already in there, like so much sharing, so much resource. Here's an important book, here's a podcast, here's a like this, that, bam, 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 bam. There's already a lot of material you can dive into. So like if I would highly recommend you to join the Telegram group. All right. And then please, if you enter the Telegram group, I like most of the talking today, like I did. I like talking and I like listening, and I want to hear more from you. So please, if you enter the Telegram group, please share more, and I'd love to get to know you on a deeper level. All right, let's do our quick closing practice. I will share the audio. I think this is a good ending for today's session. Right. Thank you for the space. Look forward to everything that will emerge out of it. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your energy. I thank you for your love. I thank you for your being that you gifted to this space today. Thank you for that.
The threshold We stand at the threshold of a great dawning. Something deep within life is changing. An era is ending. And at the very core of creation, something new is being born. We are awakening from a long collective sleep. An in vitro dreaming deep within the womb of our Mother Earth. Now is the time of a great shifting of cosmic wheels, which will result in the reformation of our Earth and trigger a radical shift in consciousness. A galactic tidal wave of light is descending upon the Earth, activating the highest potential, raising the frequency. Reality is being reformed, redefined. The activation of new neural patterns will trigger new perceptions, new information, new impulses, and the recalibration of DNA. Open yourself to these high-dimensional frequencies. Let go. Love each other in these coming times. Be kind to each other. Gather in community. Share yourself. Live your dream. Live your heart. Open yourself. Be prepared for the challenges to come. The dark times of chaos and upheaval. We will experience a dynamic recalibration of electromagnetic fields and Earth systems on a global scale. Stay present. Stay calm and centered. Try not to judge what is happening. Surrender to the process. Hold firm in the knowledge of what is being birthed. The process of birthing is an awesome undertaking, an arduous task, often fraught with intensity. Stay in the heart. Stay connected to beloved friends and family. Remember that this too shall pass, and is a necessary purification, a great purge of all that is not in resonance with what is being born in us. All will be redeemed and reformed in miraculous ways. Chaos will become peace, and sorrow will become joy. Trust with love. The butterfly is a marvelous demonstration of the power within trust and vulnerability. butterfly, if not the flowering of a caterpillar, beyond its wildest dreams. Emerging from the womb of the chrysalis, the butterfly discards its restrictive silken shell to inherit a magical new world of flowers, breezes, and sunshine. A world of freedom and delight and the celebration of its divine nature. Spreading her wings for the first time, she has no idea whether she can fly. She simply opens her wings in perfect confidence and is effortlessly conveyed into the spiral dance of graceful flight. And all that then remains is the joyous participation in the divine ecstasy of creation. As you turn your light inward and witness your true nature, you become an empty mirror and go beyond beliefs or doctrines. Dissolving the veils, the formless takes form. Going or coming, we are in the right place. As the veils are lifted, we will perceive worlds of unimaginable beauty. Self-transforming astral worlds of light will shine down and interpenetrate the density of matter, making it translucent, less dense, and more permeable to our thoughts and feelings. Multidimensional reality and the interconnectedness of all things will be as clear as sunlight. And just as the light is not separate from the sun, and the wave is not separate from the ocean, so shall we realize our connection to the source and recognize ourselves in each other as one vast ocean of love and light. Let the divine recognize the divine. Lights will find other lights. And as the spark ignites within you, so it will ignite in others. In a majestic radiance of consciousness, and set the world alight in its magnificence. A new world without fear. Without war, without greed. In the safe custodianship of an awakened species. Manifesting peace with love, light, and celebration. May the Divine Mother bless all sentient beings as her children. May the Ascended Ones bless mankind. May religion be swept away by the revelation of what we are. May the children of the earth understand that this is to be a birthing place of a new humanity. transformed into a multi-dimensional being, conscious, whole,
Thank you, friends.
and free.
Talk to you soon. It was a beautiful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.